Hello and good evening, everyone. How we doing? Welcome to the Understanding Behavior live stream. Hope you guys didn't miss me too much last week. I was off raging at a music festival. Had too much fun. So hopefully you guys didn't miss me too bad. I'm glad to be back. I'm a little sick, so I apologize if my voice isn't so great tonight. But we're here. Tonight we're going to go over Respondent and Operant conditioning. I think it's a great topic. Some really cool stuff that we'll review today. I know like a lot of you guys know about this topic, but we'll get into the fine details of everything. We'll go into some diagramming. We'll talk about, a bunch of cool stuff. We'll talk about Operant and Respondent Extinction as well, and it's gonna be great. I promise. How are you guys doing? I missed you guys. So glad to see everybody. Oh, I know, so much rocking. My step counters on my Fitbit last week were ridiculous. I had one day where I had like 68.5 thousand steps on my Fitbit in one day. So I'm dying a little bit, but my body's mostly recovered, just a little sick. And yeah, we're all good. It's great. It's all gravy, baby. So yeah, a lot of rocking and rolling for sure. I know it was like 33 miles. It was ridiculous. Like I go hard. I don't rest. Anyway, glad you guys are all here, coming back for the Understanding Behavior live stream. It's we're gonna do cool stuff today. If you aren't familiar with our materials, definitely check out Understanding Behavior shop. We've got these really awesome mock exams, Beat the Beast 1 and Beat the Beast 2. And we also have available on the Understanding Behavior app, which is on either iOS or Android. We have our mini mocks for mastery. You can actually try 2 of these for free. And we'll also have our fluency questions. We'll probably do some kind of giveaway at some point here, so make sure you're stay tuned, attending, and available for when that happens. It could happen at any time. What do you guys think? What should we give away today? What are you guys feeling? I don't know. I think we took a week off, so we'll probably may have to give away something good. We'll see. Maybe we'll just make it like dealer's choice. Like whoever wins, like can pick whatever they want. Maybe we'll do something fun like that. Okay, people are feeling some fluency. Ashley wants those mini mocks. Okay, fluency Beat the Beast 2. I think we'll do a dealer's choice today. I think winner of the giveaway today, you can pick any one of these 4 items, not all 4, any one of the 4, and yeah, I think that'll be fun. So we'll do that at some point during the stream. If you are familiar with these streams, usually if we get that like counter up, it kind of triggers that giveaway faster. If it goes like really high, sometimes we do 2 giveaways. So definitely in your favor to hit that like button now. But yeah, let's get into our topic today. It's gonna be great. Voice should be coming through. Yeah, it looks like a lot of people can hear me, so it's probably on your end if you can't hear me. Okay. Well, anyway, we're talking respondent and operant conditioning today. Let's go. So let's first talk about what is a behavior. So this is getting back to like the way basic stuff. So I like this definition of behavior. This is pulled from Principles of Behavior 8th edition by Malott and Kohler. It's defined as a muscular, a glandular, or a neuroelectrical activity. So when we're talking about operant behavior, usually it's going to fall under this muscular category. When we're talking about respondent behavior, this is usually going to fall under that glandular or neuroelectrical activity. If we want to just simplify this, great way to just simplify behavior is that it's an action of an organism. It's something that we do. So let's go ahead and break down operant and respondent behavior real quick. Operant behavior is mostly affected by our context and consequences. So mostly that consequence is the most important thing. The context is kind of referring to our antecedent stimuli here. And we often think about operant behavior as voluntary behavior. If you get like really deep and philosophical, it's like, what really is voluntary behavior? But how we're going to define voluntary behavior is that if I ask you to do it, you could do it. So if I was like, say hey, and you're like, hey, then that's an operant behavior. If I was like, go dance around and wiggle, then like that's an operant behavior. So think about like those muscular behaviors. Yeah, Ashley's got it. Hey, I love it. And the respondent behavior, which we'll also refer to as reflexive behavior, these are behaviors that occur automatically when a stimulus is presented. So consequences aren't really that necessary for our reflexive behavior, and we can think about these as involuntary behaviors. So again, I don't really like the terms voluntary and involuntary, but it's how we're going to define this is that if I ask you to do it, you probably couldn't do it. So if I was like, yo, start salivating a bunch. Okay, you just can't do it. Or if I was like, hey, decrease your heart rate 30 BPM. It's like, that's really hard to do. You might be able to like engage in a behavior that does that, but like it's hard to like just directly do those kind of things. I know, Brittany here, challenge accepted. All right, well, let me know how it goes. So again, operant behavior, we'll think about voluntary behavior or that like muscular behavior. Involuntary behavior or reflexive behavior we'll think about as like our glandular behavior, so like hormone secretion, or like our neural electrical activity. So if we think about like neurotransmitters being produced or being secreted within your body, those would be like more reflexive or respondent behaviors. Now, people really get this term mixed up. A lot of people think with like operant and respondent behavior, this is like learned versus unlearned behavior. Thumbs down. That's a wrong way to think about these things. So both of these can be conditioned. And what we mean by conditioning is that there's learning occurring. So there's operant conditioning and there's respondent conditioning. Both of these types of behaviors can be learned. Had anybody pulled that belief before this? Where it's like they think about like operant is learned and respondent is unlearned. Did anybody think about before this? It's okay. There's no shame here. No shame. So yeah, that's something that you want to get out of your head, out of your system. It's totally wrong. When we're talking about conditioning, that means that learning is occurring. So in respondent conditioning, we're looking at the conditioning of stimuli. So we can have stimuli are conditioned through pairing with other stimuli. And then behaviors are conditioned through consequences and the context associated with them. So there are operant and respondent stimuli, and this is the way that both of those are paired. So they're paired through pairing with other stimuli. Behaviors are conditioned through contacting consequences. So again, consequences don't affect our respondent behaviors as much, but when we talk about operant behaviors, we know consequences are the most important thing that control these behaviors. Cool. Well, cool. I'm glad we're fixing some terminology for you guys here at least. I love that. Okay, so we're going to spend the majority of today's class on respondent conditioning. Operant conditioning, like there's a lot more to it, and I feel like you guys are a little bit more familiar with those terms. So we'll sprinkle a little bit in on the end, but we're really going to focus most of today's class on respondent conditioning. This guy, his name is Ivan Pavlov, and he was a scientist in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So Pavlov he was not a psychologist at all. So he kind of existed before psychology was really that big of a thing at all. So he's pretty much like, he lived around the same time as Sigmund Freud, who was like the first psychologist. But he's before even Skinner's day. So he's a really old guy. So Pavlov, again, he was more of a nutritionist, and he was looking at digestion. So he was studying digestion and noticed a really interesting phenomenon. So he was particularly looking at digestion in dogs. So what he would do is that whenever he was doing his study, he was measuring how much saliva these dogs were producing. And he noticed he was bringing their food out, and he would always ring a bell before dinner time. And what he noticed is that the dogs started salivating before he even brought out the food. So like before the dogs could smell the food or anything, he would just ring the bell and the dogs were salivating. And he's like, whoa, this is cool. We got to study this. What's kind of cool is that he was embracing one of a really famous Skinner quote, which, I mean, I guess Skinner didn't quote it yet because he wasn't really around yet. But what he did was he dropped his current digestion study and he started investigating this thing that he just stumbled upon. So here's that Skinner quote. I really love this quote. It's when you stumble upon something interesting, stop everything and study it. So Pavlov, again, was really embracing Skinner even before Skinner was really around, and he just dropped his study. It's like, yeah, we're studying this now. This is really interesting. So you guys are probably familiar with Pavlov's dogs example, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk about like the terminology that goes into respondent conditioning, and then we'll talk about this diagram in relation to Pavlov's dogs. So a couple different terms that we need to start off with. First, we have our neutral stimulus. So a neutral stimulus is something that does not have eliciting power. Whenever we're talking about respondent stimuli, we're going to use this word, eliciting. So we'll never use eliciting when we're talking about operant behavior. So we would not say like an SD elicits behavior. That'd be wrong. But with all these respondent terms, we are going to use this word elicits, and it's really the only time we're going to use this. Let's talk about our next term. So we have an unconditioned stimulus. So really easy to get these terms mixed up. So neutral just has no power at all. Unconditioned stimulus has a power, so it elicits an unconditioned response, and it does so without needing any pairing. So it kind of just naturally does this. So when we're talking about like the salivation, we would say food elicits salivation on its own. An unconditioned response, this is a response elicited by the unconditioned stimulus. So we could think about this as the salivating, but particularly salivating to the unconditioned stimulus, so salivating to the food. We have conditioned stimulus. So this is when it's a stimulus that elicits a conditioned response due to pairing with an unconditioned stimulus. So what we have is we have a neutral stimulus is paired with an unconditioned stimulus that turns it into a conditioned stimulus, and now this conditioned stimulus will elicit what we call a conditioned response. And this is a response elicited by the conditioned stimulus. So a lot of terms that just like sound really similar to each other. But here's kind of the basics: is that neutral has no power. Unconditioned stimulus elicits an unconditioned response, and this doesn't require pairing. Conditioned means that it does require pairing or learning, and then it elicits that conditioned response. Again, with this word elicit, what this means is that it causes the response to occur. So again, with respondent behavior, we don't need to look at the consequences. We just need to look at, is the stimulus present? And then this response is automatically going to occur. And it occurs involuntarily. Like, we don't really have control over it. So like, if I'm just like to wave like a really awesome cheeseburger in front of you, like that's gonna elicit salivation without any power or without like any conditioning. All right, so surprisingly we have 8 different boxes here, but they can all be filled with 3 different terms. So when we're looking at Pavlov's example, again, what happened with Pavlov is that he was ringing the bell when food was presented, and now the bell is eliciting that salivation. So let's go ahead. We're going to go line by line here and try to fill in the blanks for these. So our first blank is that our US elicits our UR. So the answers I want to see in chat is that you should replace the terms US and UR and connect them with this word elicit. So it should be like blank elicits blank as your answer. Let's see what you guys got in chat. Yeah, Jeanette's saying, I guess bearded guys are cool. It's so true. We are cool. Cool. Yeah, Andrea, nice fun fact for you. Cool. Brittany looks right on track. Ellie looks good. Bridget looks good. I like where we're going. So again, we're working with our unconditioned things first. These are what occurs before pairing is necessary. Yeah, I'm liking where these answers are going. Yeah, Laura's right on track. Ash is right on track. Yeah, good Sylvia. Good Asia. Yeah, Susie, I like that. All right. Looking good, looking good. So our first line here, our unconditioned stimulus, this is going to be our meat. And this elicits our unconditioned response, which is our salivation. Cool. So again, these are the things that work before pairing. So the dog smells the meat and it immediately salivates, and it does this without needing any learning history. It's just like, yeah, meat good. We need to digest that, so I'm gonna salivate a bunch. It's not really what they're thinking. It's just what happens. All right. Let's go to our next line. So now we have our neutral stimulus. Again, neutral, no power, is paired with our US. Let's take this line. What do you guys got here? Cool, I'm liking where the answers are going for the most part. Looking pretty good. Yeah, Cecilia, it looks good. Yeah, I like that harmony. Good, Nicole. Good, Atia. Yeah, I'm gonna really encourage you, like, don't just write the terms, write the whole sentence out. It's gonna help this all really stick. You're like, Nick, that's like 8 extra key presses. I'm like, yeah, you'll get over it. It's worth the learning. All right, answer's looking good here. Okay. Cool. Well, let's check this one out. So our neutral stimulus is the bell. So the bell does not have any eliciting power until it's paired with our meat, which is our unconditioned stimulus. So again, that meat has that power. We saw it has that power from our first line. Now we pair the bell with the meat. And what this does is it turns our bell into a conditioned stimulus. So we'll skip this third line as far as a response. But yeah, we'll just carry the bell down. The bell now becomes a CS, so it's a conditioned stimulus. All right, now let's go for our line 4 here. We've got our CS elicits CR. Let's go ahead, fill in the blanks here for line 4. And again, use that word elicits to connect it. All right, yeah, answer's looking good. Nice, Brittany, Lindsay, Danielle. Kioma looks good. Yeah, Cassie looks good. Great participation tonight, everyone. Yeah, and even though like the answers are in the chat already, I think actually typing it out and practicing it yourself is going to help burn it into your brain a little bit more. That's more of an operant conditioning that we'll be looking at. So make sure you actually practice that as well, even if the answers are there. Just cover the screen if you don't want to see everybody else's answers. That totally was cool too. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, answer's looking great, everyone. Nice to Nobu. Nice, we've got 100 people here, 57 likes on the video. I think we could get that like counter up a little bit more. I don't know. All right. Loving these answers. Let's go ahead and review this. So the bell has become our CS. So our CS is our bell. And now the bell elicits our salivation. Awesome. You guys are really great on that. Way to go. So yeah, let's again run through this. All we had originally, the meat powder elicits our salivation. We paired the bell with the meat powder. That converted our bell into a CS. So now it has that eliciting power. And with that, we show its eliciting power because the bell now elicits salivation. So the bell alone, he rings the bell, and now the dog starts salivating. Looks really great. I just realized I'm on my wrong recorder thing. Here we go. Well, this one's better. All right. Cool. Well, looks great, everyone. Nice job on that. Let's talk a little bit more about respondent conditioning. So let's talk about common reflexive behaviors. So when we think about reflexive behaviors, we talked about it's like our glandular and our neuroelectrical responses. We're like, okay, Nick, those don't really click that well. Another way you can think about these is that our reflexive behaviors are going to be like our emotional responses or our emotional feelings. So when you're feeling really sad, like that's just like a combination of chemicals that are elicited within your body. Same thing when you're really happy or joyful. It's just another combination of chemicals that are elicited in your body. Again, you don't really have that much control over it. It's just something that automatically occurs when you are exposed to certain stimuli. So whenever you are thinking about emotional responses, these are not operant behaviors, these are reflexive behaviors. So looking really good here. We'll talk about respondent extinction later. Crying and laughing, those would actually be operant behaviors. Maybe like tear production. If we're talking about like tear production, that might be a reflexive behavior. But laughing is kind of on edge there. I think there'd be some blend. And that happens sometimes. Like sometimes like there's a behavior that has both respondent and operant properties. But this would be kind of the way that you separate them, is like if it occurs automatically when you're presented with the stimulus and it's not really affected by consequences. So like, for example, like laughing, like people like really like my laugh for some reason. I mean, it's just fun. So like I get a lot of reinforcement from that, and like it is definitely like reinforcement control over my laughing. I just can't deny it. So I'd say like there maybe is some blend there, but I think there's a lot of operant factors. But yeah, there's some great examples in chat. So we have like sweating, palpitations, or like shaking. Yeah, for like uncontrollable shaking, that could be those could all be respondent behaviors. Sneezing is a good one. Coughing is I don't like coughing. Like often is like negative reinforcement, like removal of like gunk in your throat or whatever. Yeah, like eyes watering, I think that's a good one. Yeah, like feeling of pain, that's a good respondent behavior for sure. Yeah, pupils dilated, I think that's a pretty good one. Cool. Yeah, there's some good examples here. So yeah, so we want to think about like feelings, for the most part. It's like feelings of joy, feelings of anxiety, feelings of like intensity or anger. Those would all be our like examples of reflexive behaviors. Yeah, I'd say like there's a mix in here. So like blinking is a weird one. Like blinking could also be like negative reinforcement. So it's like your eyes are drying out a little bit, so you blink and now they're less dry. So that could be an operant, not necessarily respondent. So you need to be careful with some of these. Has anybody heard of this term, the activation syndrome, before? Yeah, Ash has a good point about blinking there too. It's like if I ask you to do it, you can do it. So that's more likely to be operant for sure. All right, so this term, our activation syndrome, nice, Kioma is familiar with it. We can think about this as like our fight or flight response. This is also a respondent behavior or a reflexive behavior, and it's a very common one that can show up on the exam. So if you think about this, if you see this term activation syndrome, think about it as like our fight or flight response, and this is a reflexive behavior. So this is a combination of several different things. things occurring at once. So it's increased heart rate, adrenaline secretion, sweating, and a few more different things that all happen. So yeah, this can definitely show up on your exam. So be familiar with this activation syndrome. And I think the easiest way to think about it is just like fight or flight response, but make sure you do categorize it as a reflexive behavior. Cool, cool, cool. All right. Okay. Well, let's go through another diagram. So I know you guys are pretty familiar with Pavlov. You guys really nailed that one. So we're gonna amp it up a little bit and into something a little bit weirder. So let's talk about social anxiety. So when we have social anxiety, here's our three different things that we have here. So we have social situations, we have rejection or awkward situations, and then we have our activation syndrome. So again, our activation syndrome is going to be our response. So let's go ahead and we're going to do the same thing as we did for Pavlov's example, go line by line here. So let's first get our US elicits our UR. So which one of these things do you think elicits our activation syndrome to start off with? So without requiring any pairing. Neil's asking who the founder of behaviorism. I would say it's Watson. Was the first one to note like operant conditioning, but really Skinner is the person who fleshed it out and did the most work for it. So like Skinner's the man. Watson just kind of like was the first to think about like consequence influenced behavior. All right, yeah, answer's looking good here. Alrighty. I like where we're going. So yeah, let's fill out this first line here. So our first one is going to be rejection is our unconditioned stimulus. And this is going to elicit our activation syndrome. So think about this. This is actually programmed into human biology. So even an infant, like a newborn baby, like if they get rejected by their mother and rejected by all of their, by everybody around them, then they're going to start feeling this activation syndrome. They're going to start feeling that fear response. It can really mess them up. So this is programmed into our biology where like rejection will elicit this kind of fear response. All right, so let's go through our next line. We have our NS is now paired with our US. Let's fill this one out. Awesome. Answer's looking pretty good so far. So again, make sure you fill out the full sentence. Like, it's cool if you just get the term, but I really want you to get this full sentence so you really understand what the connections that are happening. Awesome. Yeah, Hema, that looks good. Kira, that looks good. Yeah, Easter, right on track. Yeah, Jeanette had that. Looks great. Awesome. Looking good here. We'll take another 10-15 seconds. Michelle and Shinobu looks good. All right, let's go ahead and review this one. So our NS is going to be something that it like doesn't have this power before pairing. This is going to be our social situations. So social situations like don't always like have this or like cause this fear response, but when they're paired with rejection, then they kind of get that eliciting power. So if like whenever you engage in a social situation, you experience rejection, now this is going to be it's going to have our social situations become this conditioned stimulus. So that's our third line here, is that now our social situations become our conditioned stimulus that now gain some eliciting power. So let's fill out our fourth line here. We've got CS elicits CR. Make sure you fill it using that word elicits to connect the terms. Let's see what we got in chat. And we're at 66 likes. That's a pretty good number. I mean, it's a pretty good number. I mean, we're close to a better number, but it's like pretty good. All right, I like where we're going here. Yeah, Hema, that looks good. Lisa, I like where you're going. All right, we got to my number, 69. That's where we wanted, 69. All right, after this diagram, we'll do a little giveaway. You guys like that? I was thinking 75 at first, but then we got to 69. I'm like, this is better. All right, cool beans. Let's go ahead and fill the rest of this one out. So now that our social situations become a CS, we have our social situations now elicits that activation syndrome. So yeah, this is how our social anxiety can develop. Is that whenever we engage in social situations, if we always get rejected, now what happens is that the social situations themselves will elicit that activation syndrome. And it might just cause you to flee or avoid those situations. So yeah, that's how social anxiety can develop. It's just a respondent behavior or reflexive behavior that occurs. All right, cool beans. Well, we got to the magic number. Let's go ahead and do a giveaway. We'll have the winner. You can pick any of one of the 4 items here that you want. So you can either win Beat the Beast 1, Beat the Beast 2, the mini mocks, or the fluency questions. Alrighty. Let's go ahead. We're gonna do a random. We'll do random 1 to 500. So one guess per person. Multiple guesses will be disqualified. You can pick whatever number you want. The closest person is going to be our winner. If we have 2 people, we'll do a roll off at the end. Yeah, Brittany's asking how would this look like in a test question? So they might ask you components of that diagram that we just reviewed. They might just ask you if this is a respondent or an operant behavior. They might ask you how you might prevent this behavior, or how you might treat this behavior, and we'll talk about that later. So yeah, a lot of different ways that they could ask you questions about this kind of stuff. Easter, well, we had 2 420s. I guess 420 69 was the theme. If the 420s win, we'll do a roll off. Yeah, I would definitely get ready for that chart. I would yeah, I would definitely like be familiar with like that respondent conditioning chart. I think it's really helpful. All right, we'll give you 15 more seconds or so, and then we'll roll our number. Okay, we're picking it. CG, or no, Crystal Curry will be our last number here. Let's get it. 308. Who's closest? Help me out here in chat, please. I'm so bad at this. All right, who's closest? Let's see, 292. That's like kind of close. I feel like there's gotta be closer than that. All right, 308. 308. Who's closest? Ooh, I see 318. That's like 10 off. That's pretty close. Any closer? I'm seeing 318 is the closest right now, but I might be missing something. And that would be Brittany. Help me out here, guys. Okay, yeah, because Devontae at 292 is 16 off. Brittany's only 10 off. I think Brittany is our winner. Oh, we had a 320. That's really close. All right, yeah, it looks like we're, thanks for confirming it for me, guys. We're going to give it to Brittany. Congratulations. Yeah, to claim your prize, shoot me an email at understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com and tell me which product that you want. We'll hook you up. All right, cool. That was fun. Well, let's keep going. So yeah, we talked about social anxiety and how that forms. So again, when social situations are paired with rejection, now the social situations are going to start eliciting that fear response, and now you're going to fear and avoid those social situations more frequently. All right. Groovy, groovy. We'll do one more diagram. Actually, no, we'll talk about respondent extinction first, and then we'll talk about one more diagram. So yeah, respondent extinction, different from operant extinction. So respondent extinction is when we kill the relationship between the CS and the US. So the way that we do that is that we repeatedly present the CS without the US, and this causes the CS to lose its listening power. So when we're looking at Pavlov, what do you think we're going to do? Do we need to repeatedly present the bell, or do we need to repeatedly present the food? Sorry, do we want to repeatedly present the bell without the food, or do we want to repeatedly present the food without the bell? Let's see what you guys think. If we're going to do respondent extinction for Pavlov. So again, your options are repeatedly present the bell without the food, or should we repeatedly present the food without the bell? What do you guys think? I might not have the other diagram in here. I forget. I might have hit it. All right, yeah, answer's looking good in chat. I like where we're going. Good. Yeah. I liking this. Nice, Ashley. Good explanation there. Yeah, Danielle's asking about higher order conditioning. I don't think I go over that in this one. So essentially, like, that's when there's like another link. So if I were to like pair a buzzing sound with the bell that's paired with the food, that would be higher order conditioning because like there's an extended link there. All right, sweet. Well, you guys nailed this one. Really good job. I thought I'd trick at least a few of you, but I don't think I did. So yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna repeatedly present the bell without the meat powder. So we keep ringing the bell, and then we don't show them the food, and that is gonna get them to stop salivating to the bell. If we just repeatedly present the food, they're just gonna keep salivating to that, but the bell doesn't lose any of its power. It's like still maintains its power. It only loses its power if we keep ringing the bell and then don't present the food. Looks good. How about the social anxiety example? So I'm not gonna give you choices for this one because you guys nailed that. So no prompts for y'all here. Okay, so how are we gonna do respondent extinction for social anxiety? Remember, we were working with social situations and rejection. So how does that work? Man, Brittany is on fire with these rationales tonight. Yeah, Liz, I think you're on the right track there. You can take that question mark off. Awesome. These are looking really good, crew. Nice job, Ellie. Good job, Amanda. Yeah, looking groovy. Yeah, so remember, like, our rejection is our unconditioned stimulus. So this is something that we're programmed to just always have fear over. So in this one, we're trying to unpair our social situations having power over creating that fear. So what we would do to do that, and I'm really impressed, you guys really nailed this one, is that we're gonna keep presenting social situations without that rejection or awkwardness. So if we force ourselves into situations and we start having more positive experiences and fewer rejection experiences, then what's going to happen is that the social situations are not going to cause that fear response as much, or that activation syndrome. So again, we want to repeatedly present our CS without the US, and that's going to cause the CS to lose its power. Looking back at our definition again. Really nice job. Very impressed with you guys. You guys are great. Yeah, for sure. And I always say, like, people with a lot of anxiety, like, the best way to approach anxiety is just like force power through it. So like, you need to repeatedly contact the situation that causes anxiety, and that's going to reduce it over time. So there's two different ways that can be reduced. So first one is through respondent extinction. That's where we don't pair it with the US anymore. The other one is through what we call habituation. So a little bit different than respondent extinction, but it's a little bit similar. This is when repeated exposures to eliciting stimuli weaken the reflexive behavior that it elicits. So if you're like that forced exposure into social situations, we could probably have a combination of effects occurring depending on like how much you're being rejected. So let's say like you go into a bunch of social situations and you still get rejected. There's probably more habituation occurring. Respondent extinction would be, again, if you go into those social situations and you don't get rejected as much. So that's the unpairing of the things. So, responding to extinction, this is the unpairing. Habituation is just like, yeah, I'm just kind of used to it. We see with our baby here, like this, when a toy is like really novel, it might like really light them up. It like elicits like a lot of joy chemicals. But when they've like seen the ball for like the 100th time, they're like, yeah, I don't really care about this. It doesn't really elicit those joy chemicals anymore. So we can think about that as habituation. It's just this was due to repeated exposures rather than unpairing. Yeah, that's why those toy rotations are important for sure. So yeah, these are a little bit, they're very similar, but a little bit different. Again, habituation is more repeated exposure. Respondent extinction is more unpairing. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so that, hopefully that is making our respondent conditioning a little bit more clear. How are you guys feeling on these? Are you feeling groovy? We learn a few things. Loving all the responding in chat today. You guys are awesome. Okay. Well, cool beans. Let's go ahead and we're gonna move into our operant conditioning. Who knows who this guy is? You better know who this guy is. This is my homeboy. Rat daddy. That's hilarious. My rat daddy. That's so funny. All right, yeah, that's the first time I've heard that name for him. That's hilarious. Yeah, this is Skinner, our boy Burhus Friedrich, BF boy. So operant conditioning was originally noted by Watson. Yeah, everybody's BF for sure. Yeah, I totally need a Rat Daddy Skinner shirt. That sounds amazing. I'm totally gonna commission that. All right, so operant conditioning, it was originally noted by Watson, but was really fleshed out by Skinner. Skinner is like the man who made everything happen with operant conditioning. Yeah, I'd buy that shirt too. I think we might actually do that. That's amazing. Yeah, next understanding behavior merge. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. We might just have to pull the trigger on that. All right, so with operant conditioning, I think the most important term is this law of effect. I'm always shocked by like how many students haven't heard of this term before. But the law of effect states that the effects of our actions determine whether or not they will be repeated. So a couple really important points of this definition is that it's the effects of our actions. So this, when we're looking at like our ABC contingency, this is really referring to the C part of that, the effects of our actions. So we engage in behavior, consequences occur. And then these determine whether or not they will be repeated. So it determines whether or not we're going to see increases or decreases or kind of just flatline behavior. Who's your rat daddy? Love it. All right, you guys are cracking me up. So when we're looking at operant behavior, the basic contingency and associated consequences control all of our non-reflexive behaviors. So think about like respondent reflexive behaviors. Those are all one category. Operant behaviors are a whole different category. Most behavior really is operant behavior. So yeah, operant behavior, we want, in our basic contingencies. Sorry, you guys are just throwing me off and laughing so much. And again, we really want to focus on, in our behavioral contingencies, this relationship between our behavior and our consequence, and how that dictates the future rate of that behavior. So the basic logic behind operant conditioning is that organisms engage in behavior to achieve more reinforcing consequences and fewer punishing consequences. So pretty simple. We like reinforcers. We don't like punishers. So we're going to do the things that result in more reinforcers naturally and things that result in more punishers less frequently. So again, that's the really basic gist of it. It's not all-inclusive. When we look at our basic contingency, what happens with our antecedents is that these different contexts or antecedents, they get associated with reinforcing or punishing consequences for behavior. So they can kind of gain the certain powers. So, like for example, like this soda can is empty right now. So this is serving as an abative effect for my behavior, because if I try to drink from this, I don't get anything out of it. So so this is an antecedent context that gets associated with my consequence, which right now is extinction. And as a result of that, I'm just not going to engage in this drinking behavior from it. So the consequence there affects that antecedent as well. And these things, they can alter the likelihood of behavior. So again, like since I'm in an S delta condition for drinking out of this right now, this is going to decrease the likelihood I'm going to engage in this behavior drinking it. What's really neat is that the principles of behavior are experimentally validated. So compared to a lot of other psychology where like the principles aren't as well experimentally validated, we know like motivating operations, rules, reinforcement, punishment, etc., etc. These things do work, and they work for every organism and every behavior. So, we've got this guy here. He's just a meat machine. He's experiencing a bunch of cool things. He's feeling real tough and stuff. So there's lots of different things that control operant behavior. We're going to just kind of like list some of these off. We're not going to get too in depth on these because otherwise this would be a 12-hour lecture. We just don't have time for that today. But we're working on a course that does do that. It's going to have the 12-hour lecture that you really want. So I'm buckling down, trying to get it out as fast as possible for y'all. So consequences, they can either increase rate. So we have reinforcement and recovery from punishment that will increase rate of behavior. The consequences can also decrease rate. This is looking at our punishment or extinction. So again, like I'm an extinction for this behavior of drinking from this right now. We can also look at the schedules of reinforcement, but not just the schedules of reinforcement. We also want to look at schedules of punishment. So how frequently something is reinforced or punished can help determine the rate of that behavior. So let's start looking at our consequences. Let's look at our contextual stimuli, also known as our antecedents. So we can have motivating operations. These alter, excuse me, how powerful our consequences are. So when we have like really strong reinforcement, it's going to have like a really strong increase on behavior. Same thing with punishers. If we have like really strong punishers, then we're going to have really strong decreases in behavior when those things result in punishment. We can also look at pairing of stimuli. So we talked about pairing of stimuli in respondent conditioning. Who knows like what is created from pairing of stimuli and operant conditioning? Let's see if you got that. I know, Rat Daddy has just distracted everybody in this, including me, everybody in this whole stream right now. So yeah, the question right now is when we're looking at pairing of stimuli, what is created in pairing of stimuli when we're looking at operant behavior? So we talked earlier, it's like we had conditioned stimuli, unconditioned stimuli conditioned stimuli were created in respondent conditioning. But what's created when we do operant pairing? So yeah, again, the question is, what is created through pairing of stimuli and operant behavior when we're looking at operant conditioning? Cool, yeah, Brittany and Tiffany are on the right track. I might change a little bit on those answers, but pretty close, pretty close. Aha, we'll give it to Farah. Has got the first best answer there. So pairing of stimuli, and when we're looking at operant, stuff, this is going to be our conditioned reinforcers, not reinforcement, but reinforcers and punishers. So for example, like conditioned reinforcer is a full soda can, but it's not a reinforcer when it's empty. So like the we can also say like the weight of this, like having weight in it, is a conditioned reinforcer because it's more reinforcing than an empty can. So yeah, all you need to do is switch that to reinforcers or punishers. Yeah, Tiffany and Brittany, you guys were really close on that. So we'll give you 3/4 points on that. Okay, cool. We can look at SDs and S deltas. So these signal the availability of consequences. So tells us whether something is or isn't going to be reinforced. Prompts. Here, let me clear this out for y'all. Prompts make behavior more or less likely for certain behaviors, make certain behaviors more likely when we're looking at prompts, not less likely. We can also have rules. So rules describe context and consequences for behavior, and these may also alter rate. And then lastly, we just have our behavioral history. So this is like the organism's full history around surrounding behavior and its surrounding context, and this will affect like what we do now. Just to kind of like look at a really simple behavior and how all these things can take place. So drinking from a cup results in water in the mouth. So this is a positive reinforcement because like this behavior results in a stimulus that maintains or increases the rate of that behavior. When we're like trying to explain behavior from an operant perspective, going back to the law of effect, we want to look at the past effects of behavior and how they determine future behavior. So this would be the proper explanation. We'll say Nick drinks from his cup because it has resulted in water in the past. It's kind of awkward, but it is the most accurate way to describe this. It would be less accurate to say that Nick drinks from his cup to get water, because that's describing something that happens in the future. But we don't know what happens in the future for sure, so we need to base it off of what happens in the past. So again, we're going to say, I drink from my cup because it has resulted in water in the past, talking about past consequences controlling future behavior. If we had extinction, I'm just gonna go over this. So this would be like drinking from the cup and not resulting in water. So behavior is no longer being reinforced. It would be extinction for this. As a result, we would see drinking from that cup decrease. So like with a soda can, I'm not drinking from it because it's on extinction right now. And it does so when the cup is empty. So again, I'm in this S delta condition that signals no reinforcement for this behavior. So I'm not going to engage in this behavior with this particular stimulus at this moment. This also creates that discrimination training. So like this water bottle, it's kind of heavy. It's got some weight to it. So I'm going to be more likely to drink from this cup than I am from this cup because of that weight that shows me that whether each behavior will get reinforced or not. And we can also look at a motivating operation here. So I'm going to be more likely to drink when I haven't drank in a while. So I'm also like more likely to drink today because like my throat kind of feels like shit. So and those are going to serve as motivating operations that are going to increase the value of that reinforcer. So we took like a really simple behavior and we saw like there's so many different concepts that we can apply to it. And really any behavior, there's a million different concepts, not a million, but there's a ton of different concepts that we could apply to any simple behavior. Tiffany, I would say like the amount of water in here is more about like the availability of it. So again, it kind of gets at that discrimination training element. Like it's not more reinforcing because there's more water in it. Maybe, but again, we're looking at the behavior of drinking, and relative to that, it's more of a discrimination training than like a motivating operation. All right. Here's a little diagram of what this would look like too. So our SD, we've got water in our bottle. We drink from the bottle, and then we get water. The result of that is that it increases the rate of drinking. Well, I put the wrong behavior there. But it increases the rate of drinking from the bottle when there is water in the bottle. So again, that consequence is also going to empower this antecedent. Our SD is going to become stronger because it's paired with reinforcement. We have no water in the bottle as our S delta. This behavior is on extinction, so we've got no water. Drink from the bottle, still no water. This is going to decrease that rate of drinking from the bottle when there's no water in the bottle. So again, our consequence is also going to weaken the evocative power of this antecedent, because it's going to have more of an abative effect on this behavior because it's paired with extinction rather than paired with reinforcement. So again, just another way to kind of visualize something really simple as something more complex. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about contingency shaped behavior versus rule governed behavior, and we'll talk about rule governed behavior a little bit too, because I think it's kind of cool. And then we'll wrap up for the night. How's that sound? Okay, so we talked about contingency shaped behavior for most of this section. Again, we want to look at our context and consequences and how that controls our behavior. Contingencies do not require verbal behavior to be effective, so these will affect any individual, whether they have verbal ability or not. And then engaging in the behavior, experiencing the consequences, this is what causes the future rate changes. When we have rule-governed behavior, a rule is a description of a contingency, and rules can control behavior without even needing to contact the contingencies behind them. These do require verbal behavior. I might even say that relational behavior might be a better term here. And again, a rule can control behavior without contacting the consequences. So let's talk about what makes a rule effective. There are two components that make a rule effective. So effective rules describe consequences that are both probable and powerful. So they're very likely to occur, so we've got strong SDs for them. And they are powerful, so they're very significant to the organism in that moment. If a rule hits both of these marks, it's very likely to work. It's very likely to be effective. When we have weak rules describe either small but cumulative outcomes or improbable outcomes. So an example of this would be if I eat an ice cream every day, I'm going to get a little bit fatter. So that's kind of a weak rule, just because it's very small and really cumulative. And it's that's a lot of ice cream I can eat before I really start seeing the effects of that. An improbable outcome would be if I speed, there's a 0.1% chance I'll get into an accident. It's okay, weak rule. I'm gonna still speed because it's more fun and I get to my destination faster. So yeah, those are weak rules. Yeah, let's go through some examples. So I have the eating ice cream example. So again, this is a weak rule. Describes a really small but cumulative outcome. So it's yeah, each bite of ice cream, it's gonna take a lot of bites of ice cream to notice this on my body. So we'd call that a weak rule. It doesn't really control my behavior. Jumping off of buildings. So this would be a stronger rule. And again, I don't need to contact the consequences for this to control my behavior. So I know hey, if I jump off a really tall building, I'm probably going to get really hurt or die. So I don't need to engage in that behavior because the rule is already very probable and powerful. It's really likely. And I'm just not trying to get injured. It's still ski season. I can't get injured during ski season. Come on. So this would be a strong rule. It suppresses that behavior. One more beer. I guess this really depends where you're at in the night. So it could be kind of weak rule if it's hey, I haven't had a beer tonight, so okay, small but cumulative outcome, it's cool. But it could, if I'm hammered already and I'm okay, just one more beer, now this rule will become more probable and powerful, but I might just be under the condition that clouds my judgment, so it may or may not be effective. Buying a lotto ticket, I think this one is kind of interesting because when we're talking about probable and powerful consequences, sometimes these can outweigh each other, and sometimes it's not about the actual probability, it's more about like the perceived probability. So if you're like a really like spiritual person, and you're like, okay, Mercury's in retrograde, my chakras are all aligned, and like I saw a black cat today, so like I'm totally gonna win the lottery. That can like affect my perceived probability and make it more likely that I'm going to engage in this behavior. But if I'm like a math person, which I'm totally a math person, I'm like, okay, yeah, like the odds are like 1 in 6 million. Like, I don't really care enough. Like, it's effort to go buy a ticket. So, like, I don't really play a lot of it. Like, that's stupid. For me, like, I'm more about, like, yeah, that's the probability is so low. But, like, the powerful consequence is, like, oh, okay, well, it's like it's a $500 million mega ball powered thing tonight. So, okay, maybe. So it kind of depends again. It's going to be more about like the belief in these rules and like the belief or like the perceived probability or the that really is most effective in a rule. Oh, it's a good one. Slap a police officer. You know, as fun as it would be, like there's some pretty probable and powerful consequences behind that one. So this does suppress most people's behavior of slapping a police officer. It's like, yeah, it's very likely you're gonna go to jail, and like, yeah, going to jail would kind of suck. And I couldn't teach you guys, that would suck. So this suppresses my behavior too. All right, well, I think that's a fun note to end on. Anyway, thanks so much for coming tonight. You guys were a blast. It's good to be back. Thanks so much for being here and making this fun for me. Hopefully you guys learned a few things. Definitely check out Understanding Behavior Shop if you want to get some of the best materials around. We've got our ultimate mock bundles, which come with our mini mocks and our full mock for just $115. If you bump that up to the super ultimate mock bundle, you can get all of those things for just $139 plus a second mock exam. So definitely go check that out. Really great deals here on Understanding Behavior Shop. Also check out the Understanding Behavior app if you haven't downloaded that already, and you can access our mini mocks and fluency questions on there and even try them out for free. So give those a whirl. All right, thank you guys so much. We will, super Rat Daddy bundle coming soon. Maybe not that soon, but soon. We'll have that out. All right, you guys are awesome. Thanks so much for coming tonight. Check out the stuff, and I'll catch you guys next week at the next one. All right, bye.